Okay, so Barcelona, they played with 4 at the back. The traditional 3 in midfield with Busquets, Arthur and Rakitic. And then with 3 up front, Coutinho, Malcom and Suarez in the middle. Real Madrid played exactly the same system. 4 at the back with 3 in midfield, Llorente, Modric and Kroos. And then up front they had Vasquez, Benzema and Vinicius Jr. Okay, so I'm going to use this clip to show the mid-press from Real Madrid. Here I've just highlighted the back 4. And then I'm just going to highlight the 3 in midfield, the 2 and the 1. It's almost like a Christmas tree system where the wingers are dropping back in to make sure that they can cover the high fullbacks from Barcelona. This is an image taken from earlier on in the game. Exactly the same. 4-3-2-1, Christmas tree formation. And that is how they tried to prevent Barcelona from playing with high fullbacks. Carvajal, he tried to stay with Coutinho. Whenever Coutinho dropped into these spaces in the middle, he went with him. And Vasquez would then drop in to try and cover and create 4 at the back. Often this would appear as 5 at the back. And this Carvajal movement was one which was seen throughout the game. Okay, so this image just shows exactly how far he's come. Now we can see the back 4 now that Vasquez has dropped in. We can see there's only 3 Barcelona players forward. So it wasn't really a risky move for him to jump out as far. If Vasquez doesn't drop back and there's more Barcelona players in between their midfield and defensive lines, I would say this is a risky move. However, there's only 3 players there, so there's not a lot of danger, which allows them to jump out that far. This image I've just stopped as Malcom's got the ball, and I'm going to highlight here Llorente, who's going to come in and cover just inside in front of the centre-backs, preventing the centre-backs from jumping out and creating cover and balance for the Real Madrid defence. Okay, so if I just pause it here we can see Llorente is now come in front of the centre-backs. They don't need to jump out, therefore they can maintain defensive balance and prevent Barcelona from causing too many difficulties. Okay, so here we can see the distance which is covered and the fact that Ramos doesn't need to jump out. Okay, here's another example. Here Barcelona are going to circulate the ball, and Llorente, who I've highlighted in the middle, as soon as he sees that Vinicius Jr is overloaded by the fullback Semedo, he then starts moving in. Okay, so at this point here we can see that Vinicius is about to be passed by Semedo, and Llorente is now going to move in and just cover that space in front of Ramos so that he doesn't need to come out. Okay, so here we can see just how far Llorente has moved in to try and give cover to Ramos, and this is a defensive stability which they didn't have in the previous Classico. One thing I noticed throughout the game was that Marcelo was a lot more attentive defensively than he normally is. Here he's going to move straight back into the defensive line, create a defensive line of 3 right next to Ramos. Okay, so here we can see that he hasn't been lazy like he was in the Classico in the first game this season. Here he gets back in, creates that line of 3 and creates that defensive stability which Real Madrid really needed. This image just shows Real Madrid pressing in the early stages of the game. Here we can see 7 Real Madrid players in the opposition half. Llorente is jumping out, so this obviously means that there's only 3 defenders for Real Madrid in their own half. So when this ball is played in and then an offload comes in, we can see the movement from Llorente. He's going to offload it into Alba, who's going to play a ball straight forward. Here we're going to see that Real Madrid were leaving a 3 against 3 at the back, and due to the defensive confidence which Real Madrid have got at the moment, Ramos tidies up without a problem. Okay, so Ramos here, confident against Luis Suarez on his own, 1 against 1, and is able to clear. Here we can see Busquets is on the ball, and Modric goes in to close him down. When the ball comes into Busquets here, 4 Real Madrid players are surrounding him. They're all moving into press, and when they win the ball back, they're able to create a counter-attack. It's not like Busquets to lose possession in positions like this. Here, Vinicius steals the ball and starts driving forward. And rather unbelievably for me, Benzema gets in his way. Benzema needs to get out the way, start moving forward in between the centre-back and full-back, as there's a 3 against 2 situation. Kroos does well by moving away into the left, but when there's 3 of you, you need to go in 3 different directions. By the time Benzema realises that he should be moving out the way, Vinicius has already made up his mind to take a shot. It's clear for everyone to see here that Vinicius needs to make a pass into Cruz, but we have to remember he's 18 years of age, and when you're 18 playing in your first Classico, there's the potential for making bad decisions. And in this case, we can see one here. He needs to play the ball into Cruz, and it's probably going to be 2-0 to Real Madrid within the first 13 minutes. And Cruz is obviously, understandably, annoyed when the ball gets cleared. Here we can see just how compact Real Madrid were. Really compact shape. They must be around about 25 metres in compactness. And width-wise across the pitch, you can see clearly that they've left the wings open, which when the ball would come in, they would then go and press. Okay, so when the ball arrives at the wing, Vinicius Jr then goes into press. And this was the way that Real Madrid tried to defend during the game. Okay, here Barcelona is starting to try and play out. And in this position here, for me, Jordi Alba should do one of two things. Either just give it back to your centre-back and move forward, or move forward yourself with the ball. Here I highlight the three centre midfielders from Barcelona, who I felt at times were behind the ball, or not in between the defensive lines from Real Madrid. Here, for me, Busquets should just hold his position and the other two should move forward. Strangely for me, Jordi Alba moved inside with the ball instead of moving out wide. Arthur, for me, needlessly comes into this position when Busquets is already in there. So therefore, instead of having one player in this space, we've now got three. And it makes it easier for Real Madrid to defend this kind of situation. Okay, so if I just pause it there, look at the three Barcelona players. Jordi Alba should be next to the wing. Arthur doesn't need to be in there. He needs to be behind the midfield line from Real Madrid. And Busquets could easily just pick that ball up, either play a ball into Jordi Alba forwards, or a ball into Arthur forwards, or a ball into Rakitic forwards. But he can't do any of them because the three players in the same position. As we can see, Arthur's played the ball back, and Real Madrid had it easy because the Barcelona players weren't well positioned. This is examples from the second half. This is the kind of positioning which I'm talking about. Here the two midfielders are further forward than Busquets, and they're staggered, and it's easier for Barcelona to have options. They've got a pass in there in between the lines to Arthur, pass into Busquets, and if they wanted, a chipped ball over into Rakitic in the space. In the second half, the fullbacks from Barcelona got forward further. And here I'm just highlighting Malcom and Suarez, and also Coutinho. Three players further forward, fullbacks further forward, and then the three midfielders from Barcelona controlling the balls at the back. This is much better from Barcelona and much more what we're accustomed to over the recent years of how Barcelona play and dominate games. Okay, so later on in exactly the same phase of play, as we can see, we've got all 8 players, just the 2 centre-backs are left at the back, and Real Madrid in this moment, if we look at the positioning of their players, so tight, so compact. That's all 10 players from Real Madrid forced back trying to defend. And this is what we expect from Barcelona. The tactical changes that Valverde made, he brought on Vidal and he brought on Messi. Just from bringing on Vidal, look at the movement which he's making into here, breaking forward. These movements weren't happening with Rakitic and Arthur. Even though there's 4 Real Madrid players surrounding him, still asking for the ball. And Barcelona in the second half looked a lot more confident in possession in the opposition half. He's got Vidal, who's just made that run into there. Now he's got Semedo moving in, trying to make this run into here as well. Much better from Barcelona. Again, the second half, centre-backs are picking up the ball. Look at the positionings of the Barcelona players. Plenty of players further forward, ahead of the ball. Something that wasn't happening in the first half. Here, I can accept that Arthur drops back in to receive. Why? Because you've got the high fullbacks, you've got the 3 forwards in forward positions, you've got 2 other midfielders in forward positions. There's no problem with dropping back to play a ball out and bring it out down the side. Much better in the second half, and it was a clear team talk by Valverde at half time. Okay, so this image is from the first half. Here, look at the fullbacks, they're not very high up the pitch, Therefore, if your fullbacks aren't high up the pitch, you don't need your midfielder as close to pick up the ball from the centre-back. Get forward. Let the centre-back bring it out. Let the Real Madrid players go and press him. Get forward and be able to receive the ball in between the lines. Here, Rakitic in the first half, I'm not going to say he looked lost, but at times, him and Arthur were dropping in when they didn't need to. Here's another example of Jordi Alba bringing the ball into midfield. I don't understand why he's doing that. He doesn't need to come inside. There's no one on the wing. There's no one even dropping into the wing position. Again, 3 midfielders all behind the ball from Barcelona, and it was all a little bit too predictable in the first half. Just highlight here that we've got 9 Real Madrid players behind the ball, and within those players, we've got 3 Barcelona players. Rakitic is just in front of the ball, so I've included him. So we've got a 9 against 4 in that area. I don't understand why Barcelona have got so many players behind the ball, and then you've got a midfielder, Arthur, bringing the ball forward. For me, he needs to just drop that ball back in to a centre-back and get forward. Rakitic, get forward. 2 fullbacks, get forward. Let the centre-backs bring the ball out. Here he tries to dribble through the middle and ultimately almost loses possession. Here Modric almost steals the ball from him whilst he's trying to drive forward. Gets a second bite at the cherry and makes the foul. Here we can see the moment that the foul is made and that he can't advance. But there's no point in bringing the ball out there when you've got 5 of your teammates behind you. Give the ball back in, get forward, and start trying to create opportunities in the opposition half. Here we can see the high press, and we can see Carvajal is going to drop in really deep again with Coutinho. Lots of Real Madrid players pushing high up the pitch, 8 players here, including Carvajal, leaving just the 2 centre-backs against Suarez and Malcom. Real Madrid end up winning the ball back and counter-attacking through the middle. 3 against 3 situation, which with Vinicius on the left-hand side was causing Barcelona some big problems. But if there's one thing you can always say about Barcelona sides, is that they will always get back and they will always defend in numbers. Okay, in the first half, in the first few minutes of the game, here I'm just highlighting Alba on the left wing, looking for that ball in behind the Real Madrid defence. A better defensive line this time. They're not as high up, and they're more prepared for this ball in behind. By the time he controls the ball, the Real Madrid defence is a lot better prepared than last time. Marcelo is less lazy this time. He gets into a defensive position to help out, and they're able to clear the danger away. Jordi Alba recognises that this is his opportunity to get forward. As soon as Arthur starts bringing the ball forward and he plays this pass in, this again, exactly the same as the first game a few months ago. This is the signal for Jordi Alba to start moving forward and break that defensive line of Real Madrid. This offload here is the key moment for him to make that run. Again, we can see Carvajal highlighted in black. He's moved out with Coutinho. When this ball is offloaded, he's going to make that ball over the top, and Jordi Alba is going to make that run in between the centre-back and the full-back. The ball was slightly overhit and the keeper was able to come out. Apart from Jordi Alba, the other danger man in the game was Malcom. Here, Real Madrid have lost possession and the defence is open. Barcelona retrieve the ball comes into Suarez. Here I'm highlighting when the ball comes into Suarez, look how open the defence is from Real Madrid. I highlight Varane, Sergio Ramos and Marcelo. So when the ball comes in, Varane for me was a bit slow to get back in. That ball down here into this channel and Malcom was in. However, he was just caught offside by Marcelo holding his run. This example, Malcom's not quite in the shot. However, a big sweeping ball across finds him 1 against 1 with Marcelo. And the distance between the fullback and Ramos is quite big. So he's able to drive 1-on-1 against Marcelo. And with the confidence which Malcom had during the game, drove into the box and created an opportunity for Suarez to score. Okay, so here we can see just how far he's driven in. And there's 5 Real Madrid players all around him. Went straight past them all, little ball into Suarez, and Suarez was able to turn and take a shot. Unlucky not to score, and Malcom was looking dangerous in the game. He could be a real plus for Barcelona between now and the end of the season. Here in just the second minute of the game, you can see Malcom's intention. When the ball comes to the centre-back, he already starts to make his run in between Ramos and Marcelo. It was a powerful run, and if that ball comes over the top, Ramos isn't prepared and Marcelo is never catching him there. The ball didn't come into Malcom. Instead, the ball comes over to Coutinho, but Ramos holds the defensive line. The Malcom and Semedo relationship looks like it could blossom well for Barcelona in the future. Here there's a counter-attack, and the distance which Semedo makes up to get on the end of this is quite impressive. This is the moment that Marcelo realises he's in trouble. He drops back further in his defence because he's probably worried about the pace of Malcom. Here he checks where his defensive line is and realises he's on his own and has to slow the ball down. At this moment here, when Semedo makes this run forward, I personally was just thinking just get the ball into him now. However, Malcom's movement waited for the centre-back to get into position, and then he makes a ball in behind. Okay, so Malcom cuts inside when the centre-back is now about to hold the line, plays a little ball in behind his shoulder, and Semedo in this position here could either score or pull it back. Pulled it back and Barcelona didn't quite score, but it was a good sign for the relationship between the two of them and good signs for Barcelona. Early on in the game, we can start to see the relationship between Malcom and Semedo developing. He is going to play a ball into Semedo. He then plays it into Rakitic and moves forward, whilst Rakitic plays the ball back to Malcom, who plays the ball into Semedo's path. An impressive third man running from Barcelona. And again, that relationship's looking good. Okay, so here I just pause it after Rakitic's pass back into Malcom, and now he's going to make the pass into the space where Semedo's got the pace to get in behind. However, a fortunate and well-timed interception from Marcelo prevented this from being a goal-scoring opportunity. Okay, so when Real Madrid were trying to play out from the back, Barcelona pushed up high, but they left some big gaps in between their defence and midfield. Here we can see just how much space they left in between their midfield and defensive lines. We can already see two Real Madrid players in between those lines, and there's a third one now who's going to break through and receive this pass. And momentarily, if Modric had driven forward, it would have been a 4-against-3 situation. However, he plays the ball to the wing and Barcelona are able to get back in and defend. This is where I give credit to Vinicius Jr, 18 years of age, first Classico, and he was a danger man. Okay, he made some bad decisions during the game, which we're going to see now. However, he was a dangerous player, and at only 18 years of age, I can only see it going better for him, and he's going to be a top player, I think, for Real Madrid. Here, they're about to start making a counter-attack, and we can already see Vinicius Jr and Benzema about to initiate a counter-attack. Okay, so he receives the ball here, and he has no other thought in his mind than to go forward. 4 Barcelona players against 3 from Real Madrid, and this was one of those occasions where he made a mistake. He could have played the ball into Benzema, or he could have carried the ball further forward. Instead, he plays this ball in behind Vasquez, and he's unable to make anything from this pass. It was a poor pass and a poor decision. Another counter-attack from Real Madrid. Again, Vinicius is off, trying to find that space in the defence. Here I'm thinking, go on, get at him. You're 18, first Classico, you're quick. Test PK. It's a 2-against-2 situation. Okay, so this is, for me, which I was actually quite surprised about and almost a bit disappointed they didn't go for it. 2-against-2, and instead of going forward, he drops back and plays a pass in backwards. But following that pass, he didn't just stand there and admire the pass. As soon as he gave it, he went. The ball now comes into Benzema, and Benzema's going to give the ball into space for Vinicius Jr, and Piqué has to come out and try and prevent him from crossing the ball into the box. Okay, so when the ball comes to him now, he's going to play a ball across the box, and Real Madrid were unlucky not to score. It was a good play from the young Vinicius Jr, and a good opportunity for Real Madrid to score, and he just overstretched and couldn't quite finish. Another counter-attack, a highlight Vinicius Jr. At this point here, it's basically a 3-against-3, and this ball in behind puts Vinicius Jr through. So at this moment, he's actually 1-against-1. He takes Semedo on and drives forward. At this moment, I was thinking, go on, be greedy, have a shot. But instead, he pulls the ball back unselfishly for an 18-year-old, I have to admit, for Benzema, but he just overhits this cross. Unselfish play in a big pressure situation where a young player might try to make a name for himself. So I was quite impressed with the unselfishness. However, it came to nothing. Here's a clip from the very start of the game. Vinicius straight away trying to find that space in behind the defence. Because of his pace, you've got Semedo dropping back, and also Piqué is worried because obviously Semedo, young player, might get caught out, so he's dropping back in as well. This would free space up for that pass into Benzema. It didn't happen, but just from Vinicius having pace and looking in behind, it will always give that opportunity for Benzema to drop in and receive between the lines. Of all the Vinicius Jr clips, this is probably the one which impressed me the most. Here Busquets brings the ball out, which he thinks is comfortable. Vinicius Jr comes in from behind and presses him. Okay, so we can see the distance to which he's covered to try and prevent Barcelona from playing out easily. And Vasquez is able to come in, help him and steal the ball. Okay, so here we can see Busquets complaining, but the Real Madrid players obviously don't stop. Vinicius going to get to the edge of the box where Vasquez is going to set him up for an opportunity to score. Okay, so in this moment here, he just lays the ball off, but Barcelona are able to just get in and prevent it from getting a good shot away. Here we can see a tactical change from Barcelona when they brought on Messi and Vidal. They switched to a 4-4-2, and I just highlight Messi and Vidal. There, Vidal on the right hand side, Messi is the second forward with Luis Suarez. And the great thing about Messi is he doesn't just stand there up front waiting for the ball. He fights, comes back and defends, helps win the ball back, and from that right hand side of the pitch, he's able to drive in forward on his favoured left side. Okay, so this is after he's won the ball back, drives forward and sets Barcelona off on the counter-attack. Okay, this is a different example from him cutting inside, driving in onto his favoured left foot, and Real Madrid have to pull him down on the edge of the box, giving away a free kick but preventing a dangerous attack from Messi. So that was one of the tactical changes from Valverde, which clearly affected the game. Solari, of course, had that man, Gareth Bale, available to him as well. Here, once he's come on, he's always looking for that space in behind the defence, looking for that chip pass over the top. And we can also see the other tactical change from Solari here. Both fullbacks really high. Again, another example. Here, Bale's got his hands up. Modric has seen the pass. He's going to move in behind the defence. If this ball comes in, he's in. Piqué isn't side on. He's pretty square on. So is Semedo. The whole back four is looking like it's square on. And if that ball comes over, Bale is in one-on-one with the keeper. And here you can see Bale knows it. He's covering his face because he's obviously disappointed the ball hasn't come to him, as he knows that was a goal-scoring opportunity. Again, another clip just to show those high fullbacks from Real Madrid. That tactical change from Solari gave Real Madrid some opportunities here. 3 centre-forwards in the box, fullbacks wide, 2 midfielders on the edge of the box, able to recirculate any balls that come out towards them. Okay, so in the penalty area, 3 players in the penalty area, 2 on the edge of the box, and both fullbacks able to recirculate the ball and cross the ball into the penalty area. And the final tactical change was Alenya. Here, ball comes in long, he jumps up and flicks it on. When the ball comes from Suarez out into Messi on the wing, Alenya drives forward 3 against 2. When this ball comes in now, Alenya is pretty much through on goal. However, he makes a poor decision. This is the moment here that he should know that there's 2 of his teammates up at the top. A little stop of the ball and a pass, and it should be a goal. Or try and filter the ball through that little gap. A little bit harder, but if you just stop the ball, a little drag back, gives it into that side, into Suarez or Vidal, and Barcelona probably would have been looking at a 2-1 victory.